Hello, this is Professor Nelson of the Jewelry Design Department at FIT. This is the third video I'm going to do for doing freeform maquettes. Like I said, most of these surfacing techniques you wouldn't use for a final piece, but you might. If they're useful, use them. They're simpler and faster than more convoluted sweeps and what have you. The last one I'm going to do is how to do a ribbon. Okay, a lot of jewelry has a ribbon type form going on. So actually, I'm going to put that in storage. We don't need that anymore. And same with that. Clean slate. Okay, so just going to draw kind of a generic ribbon form. I'll set it with history. Something like that. Rebuild this one. And then turn on the points. Turn on analysis tool. And sweeten this curve up a little bit. May as well. And each one of these should be affecting that offset curve, which it isn't, which means history didn't take for some reason. Not a big deal. I'll just offset it again. I do want to prove that it works with history, though, because it should. Should be when I turn on a control point and I move it over here, it should affect that. And that's what it wasn't doing before. Okay. So there we have a fairly smooth ribbon-like form. However, what's fun is an organic ribbon if it's a straight strip. So I'm going to first offset a curve. No. Teach you a different technique. Okay, anyway. Turn on the control points. I don't want history over here for this purposes, so I'm going to control this. Actually, I'll cut it and paste it. This one will not have history. Any copy that you paste back in loses history. And if I want to make sure this stays somewhat smooth, I can keep my curvature graph on. To keep things smooth, it's often useful to move several points together. And experiment with control point editing, guys. This move isn't the only option you have. You can also scale, rotate. You can do all of your transforms at the sub-object level and get some very powerful effects doing so. So you should experiment with that on your own when you're drawing in Rhino to get the kind of effects you want. Okay. Smooth enough. So now I'm going to come over here, rebuild this one. Also do a kind of similar math. Turn on the curvature graph for it. And Okay, I don't want to belabor this. I just want to have a kind of a nice ribbon form to work with. When I'm working with something like this and I want to put an ended on it, I will. You have to be an orthographic top for this to work properly. But line perpendicular from the curve, from first point option. Same thing on this end. And then you can fill it, and depending on how crazy you want to get with this, you could actually do a bisector. Start at the end of this, go to there, and it'll give you the average. That's if you don't trust your eye. Normally I would just trust my eye for something like this, but if you want to make sure it's mathematically happy, that's what you would do. That might have done something weird at the end. See, it exploded into two segments. So I'm going to rebuild it so it's one curve. Fine. So there's my ribbon. It's not great, kind of snaky like. I want to make a organic surface for my maquette based on this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to offset both outer curves, all of the curves actually, so I could just as easily join this all together and offset it all together. I need some extra surface to work with. Okay. It's 8 segments, which we don't want, so remove the ends, join these together into 2 open curves, and then we're going to rebuild them. And the important thing here is we want to rebuild these as simple as we can. So I'm going to try 14. I don't care if it changes, because you'll see it's still not getting into the center of my curves, which is the only thing I care about. The fewer points I have, I'm going to change this from 3rd degree down to 1st degree. Oh, hang on, that's curves, never mind. Again, I want to keep that 4th degree. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. And hit OK. So we have our curves. Now we're going to create a surface from these. And the easiest one to make will be a bi-rail sweep. Okay. See how crazy that looks? We don't care. Add a slash. What you want these to do is to feel pretty perpendicular to the surface as you're going. Perpendicular to the 2 rails on the outside, I should say. Okay. That's our new surface. That surface is a nightmare. So we're going to rebuild it. It has 109 points. We want it to be in the V direction 1. And on the outside of it, you can see that it's really going crazy with 3. That's dumb. So out here, this is the U is how many it's going to have, what the math is this way. V is what the math is across. So we want the math going along the curves to be similar to what the curves were. But V, we only need 2 points, 2 and 1. But here, which is the same as it had in the original, here we're going to start climbing. And all I care about is, do these curves interfere with my original curves? I don't want any more points than I need. I would say 14 or 15 should be good. That's what we have in our rails. And hit OK. And that's our new surface. Got it. Going to move this off the ground somewhat. Going to take my original curves, top C-plane, project curves with recorded history. This should all be very familiar by now. Delete equals no. I can turn off the layer with the base one. They don't need the one with the outline either, because now we're down to our basic kit. Okay? The difference here being that we have the ability to play with this more. So here are our control points. So you'll notice in my tool layout, I have this up all the time. Okay? This comes off of the edit, actually, the select. Here. If you drag that off, if you pop it out and then drag that off, that's what this is over here. And by doing that, I actually lost the one I had there. Put it back. This is a very useful thing to have, because it allows you to select points with more control. I'm also going to want a center line on this. And to get that, I'm just going to extract an isocurve. I want history. Mid-snap. That might come in handy. Actually, no. I don't think we need it. So, off we go. For this piece, I want this to go down. Same idea. I'm going to do general shaping first. I want this area to climb. It's important to always select both sides of that. Okay? And this is where that tool button comes in handy. You never know which direction is U or V because Rhino assigns them arbitrarily. If I had been watching during my rebuild, I would know, but I don't remember. These two buttons are very useful though. Select U, select V. Try one. If it doesn't work, it's the other. If I select it and I get it right, it'll select the other side. If I get it wrong, it'll select the whole row of control points all the way down the side of the surface, which is not what I wanted. So that's the one I want. With that selected, it makes it easier to grab those points. And so for the rest of the game here, I have to remember it's select V that I want. And I would like this to really drop off. So I'll select these 2 points. Doesn't matter which side they're on, because once I hit select V, it'll grab their partner. And so I can do something pretty outrageous with this if I want to. So there's my basics. Now I'm going to want to smoothen that out. Maybe I want this to drop down a little bit more. And I want this to swing up. Now, as I said before, if I want to control smoothness, ironically, I go into flat shade because it really helps me see what's going on with the surface. And you don't have to use that toolbar over there. If you're just doing one point, it's obviously just as fast to, one set of points is just as fast to grab them with your mouse. So that's the basic up and down of it. Now I want to play with the ramping of it. This is going to want to twist and turn through space. I may want to put more detail in, but remember, you want to take it as far as you can as it is before you start adding knots to it. You always want to move these straight up and down vertically so that you don't change your top view, because you want that top view that you carefully laid out to stay the same. So I have this. I would like this whole section to go higher. Yeah, that's nice. I want to control some of that twisting and ramping. And then if I decide I want more control in certain areas, of course I can get that by inserting knot. It'd be good to have one there maybe, and there. Now obviously if I would have wanted this to have a ridge up the center, I could do that too. I will demonstrate that in a moment. But first, start simple. Limit to yourself to which you can move in which direction. We can only go vertical. We use groups of points first, and then we refine by adding more, by working with single points or pairs of points and then single points, and if we have to, by adding more isocurves, more knots on the surface. Isocurves are how you see the knots. They are not the knots, they're just a graphic interface. Would like another knot here. Give me a little more control through this area. And a little twisting. And that's not bad, right? That is pretty convoluted. It's pretty crazy. I would like to insert a knot here. But once again, this is to show you a method. It's not to make a pretty piece of jewelry. So I would probably level these two out a bit. One side up, one side down. But let's say I did want to raise something up in the middle of this piece. You are allowed to rebuild. So, and maintain history. So I'm going to rebuild this surface now. Hold on. Sorry about that. I had a call. I was going to rebuild this so that we have the ability to raise up the center of this. So rebuild is F5. I want to have 3 control points. I want one right down the middle. So I'm going to take the point count in the V direction up to 3, take the math to 2, keep the rest the same, and the curves stayed on board. Oh, hang on. I have to remember I added some control points. There are 22 now. I'm going to make that even more. I'll make it 25 to try and hang on to things a little more rigidly. And then I can turn on my control points again. And now to raise up the center of this piece, you don't want to just grab those points and pull them straight in the air. It will give you a very strange effect. If I grab this and I select the whole row and I use my gumball and I pull them up, I mean, it's for a maquette, sure. Okay, that's fine. Actually, I take it back. That's all right. And then, of course, you could lower some and raise some to get differences along the body of the piece, if you wanted to. A more controlled way of doing that, particularly towards the ends of the piece, because by pulling them straight up, you get this strange straight up shear going. So what I would do is I would use Move UV in. Type that in, keyboard entry. I don't know. Let's find out. And by moving this V, this N slider, which is normal, they will move normal to the surface. The scale's at 0.1. Let's make the scale 0.8. And that will move the points normal to the surface, which will give you a more predictable result. Okay? So, use Move UV in. Okay, as far as thickening the part, I would use the same method I've been using before. The three options are available. You could extrude surface, you could extrude straight and cut the bottom off if you had a flat piece under here. But if it's going to be organic all around, then I would use the I actually would trim this first. I can put the shading off a flat shade. And then surface, extrude normal to surface. We'll go with our handy 2 millimeters. And then we'll offset our surface 1.5, let's say. The goal is to always extrude more than you need and then offset to cut back to exactly what you're looking for. And then join. And I will once again paste in a copy of that surface because I don't want to lose my history. Join. And there you go. EMAP for effect. And it is a relatively direct way to do a ribbon-like surface. Okay? That's it. Thanks for watching.